This is a relief for not only her, but also her family that have been so supportive there of her inside of the courtroom. They're here in Atlanta, they are in Philadelphia as well, and they've been traveling for this trial. She had this to say about her kids now being with her and her reaction to her boyfriend's mother giving a victim impact statement.
To be able to nurture them from this experience, to be able to help them get through it from a mother's standpoint. Their dads is definitely in support of it. You know, they was trying the best they can, but it's nothing like a mother do that. So.
You heard his mom talking.
I did hear his mom, and I do feel for her. You know, I have a son as well. My son is 13, so I definitely feel for her. I hate that it happened again for her. You know, like I said, I just wish it didn't happen.
Do you think there's a chance that you all will be able to reconcile?
I don't want to speak. You know, if it's in God's hands, it'll happen. If not, I understand.
Now, the Judge Morris was also very keen and emphasized that she wanted not only Quaneesha but the children to be getting therapy during the time that she is with them. But right now, Ted, she gets to be with her kids. She's been separated from them since November when this happened.
So, again, as a refresher, she was sentenced to 5 years in prison, 5 years home confinement, 10 years probation to make the 20. But she's out on bail right now, just as pending an appeal. So does it come off of her prison time, or is it just a wait and see on the appeal? Why is she at home is what people at home are thinking. Gosh, we've never seen something like this.
It's a unique motion. We have seen it done before, but this ask of the judge to allow someone to be out on appeal during the time pending the appeal is what it's referenced as, because you don't know what's going to happen with the appeal. So if this case is overturned, some judges feel that it would be not in the interest of justice to keep someone out or keep someone behind bars if their case is going to be overturned and they may not be convicted. So it's rare, but it does happen. And you mentioned whether or not this time comes off of her home confinement time, because now she is under house arrest pending her appeal, but it won't come off of those 5 years that she has to serve house arrest. But the time that she served behind bars will come off of the 5 years that she has to serve behind bars.
Devontae Smith, she talked about it, you talked about it, mother, today. You were in the courtroom, pretty emotional.
Very emotional. Burnett Campbell, she spoke really for the first time. This wasn't a kind of case where she would be able to come up and tell the jury about her son, give that spark of life type evidence that we sometimes see in front of the jury. But this was the moment that she could share what her son meant to her. She said he loved not only Quaneesha, but loved her children and was constantly bragging on them. And she had this to say about the defendant.
They called me and told me, "Ma'am, do you know a Devontae Smith?" And my heart dropped. I had to describe my son to this woman, to this man. And I knew at that moment that he was gone. Because see, a mother's intuition tells you everything. That Sunday, 2 o'clock, I fell to my knees in the middle of the store with pains, and I didn't understand why. Because my son wasn't here anymore. All night I tossed and turned. I had no idea what was wrong. And I got to work, and the medical examiner called, and I couldn't get it together. I blacked out. And then the detective called me, and my first words was, "Where is she?" They said, "Who? Where is the woman that killed my son?" Because I knew it was you. A darkness dwelled inside of you.
It was a really difficult victim impact statement to hear, not only from his mother, but his sister. And Ted, I can tell you that she walked out of that courtroom before this sentence was fully entered. It seemed that she got a sense that this judge was going to be very lenient with this defendant and just wanted to no longer be in the gallery at that moment.
Yeah, you could feel the emotion just watching it on television. I can only imagine in the courtroom what it was like. The appeal process now, so I guess it's multifaceted. requested it. How does it work, and what are we talking timeline?
Right, 30 days the defense has to file their motion for a new trial with this judge. So not quite on the appellate level yet. It will be just back with Judge Morris. She will weigh the issues. It's common. We always see this when someone wants an appeal. They go to that initial judge, and then after that judge typically denies that motion for a new trial, it then gets filed with the appellate court. And it's a process that could take multiple years. I asked Michael Sterling after this sentencing about what the grounds for that appeal would be.
We just, this was a tough one for me. I think people could tell at times I got emotional. It's always hard when you're a defense attorney. You take these cases home with you, and it's rare for me. Most of the cases I get, pretty cut and dry, right? You kind of know what's going to happen. You can kind of predict what's going to happen. But this was an extremely unusual case. I mean, I think even the judge said in her 8 years on the bench, this was probably one of the most tragic cases she's ever seen. And the judge articulated all Ms. Johnson's cries for help and calls to police and all of those mitigating factors. And so this was an extraordinary case for me, too, very personal. I spent a lot of time with Ms. Johnson's kids and her family and preparing for the case so I could really go inside her mind and understand who she was. And so it was just a really tough case.
A unique case for so many of us watching. Ted, one of the grounds that he did mention, you didn't hear it there, but the 911 call by that ex-girlfriend that the judge knew about, but the jury didn't know about, it's possible that'll be one of their key points in the appeal, that evidence should have come in.
Yeah, and it was fascinating, that part of the equation, because we heard the call and the jury did not. They couldn't find the person who made the call, and then there were these, as you mentioned, there's sort of this veiled suggestions that the family may have had something to do with her unavailability, and that needs to play itself out. Let's face it, it's going to be part of this process as we move forward. Julia Janae, thank you, as always. Let's bring in trial attorney and host of Once Upon a Crime in Hollywood, Kelly Hyman in Miami, and national trial attorney Michael Jaffer. Michael, to you first. This 911 call, we talked about it last week. The judge said, no, you can't play the call unless you find the woman. And if you find the woman's voice and bring her in, fine, we'll talk about it. But at this point, you're not playing the call. Is that something that could pick up some traction?
Not really. It's not enough. I took a lot of flack from my colleagues when the prosecution rested their case, when the state rested their case, because I predicted she'd get convicted before the defense put on her case. I said, there's enough, they've met their burden. And I can't see how the defense is going to overcome that burden. So that 911 call would not have, in my opinion, would not have made a difference, because what's going to happen? Think about it. The detective testified that there were no prior incidents between these two. She had never called the police for help with this situation. She had not, this is the first they've ever heard of her and her situation with the victim, right? And so what would that 911 call could possibly have said? It would have been hearsay. It would have been somebody other than the defendant, the victim himself. So I don't see how it would have made a difference, and definitely not enough to overturn this. Look, the judge clearly did not agree with the jury. The jury made their decision, but the judge clearly did not agree with their decision. Because you saw a woman walk out. When I saw her walk out with her kids, I thought, wow, I was wrong. She got acquitted. And then I read more. I was like, well, she actually got convicted, and she's walking out on a sunny day. I've never seen this in 17 years of practice. I'm sure it has happened. It happens in situations that are very unique, but not like this. I've never seen that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes it's a white-collar scenario where the judge will allow the individual to be out during pending the appeal, but very rare. They always ask for it, defense attorneys, but never get it. Kelly, your overall thoughts on the case, the verdict from the jury, and then the sentencing from the judge, including the opportunity for the defendant to spend the next possibly couple years at home as this works its way through the system.
Based on the facts and the evidence presented to the jury, they believe that she should be convicted of certain crimes based on the evidence that they heard. Strong believer in the jury system and supported as well. And so based on that information that they had, they made that decision. In regards to the judge determination, the judge has leeway to allow the sentencings to change. Now, the fact she has young children, it's a sad situation, no matter how you look at it, that here this young woman went through this, but then also the fact that a loved one or family member has lost someone. But ultimately, it's going to go up to appeal, so we're going to have to see what the appellate court does. Did the judge get it right? Did the jury get it right? We're just going to have to wait and see on this one.
Yeah, and you know, the end of the first person is going to be Judge Morris. If she'll have the decision in terms of, she could technically give them a new trial after they file a motion for it, but typically that doesn't work because the motion is basically saying, Judge, you screwed up, so we deserve a new trial. And the judge says, no, I didn't. You're not getting a new trial, and then that sends it up. But in this case, to Michael's point, if the judge thinks the jury got it wrong, well, then buckle up. We don't know what's ahead here. We'll have to wait and see. They'll have 30 days to file that motion for a new trial, and then that will begin the process. But the bottom line is the defendant is at home and will be pending the appeal. So let's do this. Let's step aside, get a break, and then let's head to Iowa. Remember this case, the sleepover kidnapping murder trial for Henry? Yes, it's still going on. It's a bench trial, no jury here. The state is getting close to wrapping up its case in chief, and we're going to dip in and watch a little bit of coverage after this.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, an alleged murder-for-hire plot in Paradise. We'll bring you the latest developments in the case against Lindsay Shiver. Plus, a fiery statement by the DA overseeing the case against Karen Reed, a Massachusetts woman accused of killing her police officer boyfriend.
What is happening to these innocent people, these witnesses, is wrong, and it needs to stop.
We'll bring in our think tank with reaction.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rollins. Glad to have you along with us. The bench trial for the defendant Henry Dinkins underway in the state of Iowa. Dinkins accused of first-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping and the death of 10-year-old Quaneesha Terrell. She was last seen at a sleepover at his home. We're going to take you into court in just a minute, but first, here is Court TV's Julia Janae with a look at the case against Mr. Dinkins.
For 9 months, Iowa communities searched for missing 10-year-old Quaneesha Terrell. Her smiling face featured on FBI posters nationwide. The last people to see her alive on July 10, 2020, were inside this apartment complex that Quaneesha had only visited one time. Quaneesha and her 8-year-old little brother were spending the night with her brother's biological father, Henry Dinkins, and Dinkins' girlfriend. The next morning after the sleepover, Dinkins called Quaneesha's mother and told her her daughter was nowhere to be found.
Friends and total strangers are helping the family of Quaneesha Terrell search for the missing 10-year-old.
The search for Quaneesha grabbed headlines. Local station WQAD-8 called her a, quote, budding TikTok entertainer after the child's mother shared with them these videos.
Okay, Mom. Is it pretty now?
Dinkins was placed behind bars on unrelated probation charges. He provided no further details about Quaneesha's possible whereabouts, even when confronted by the child's mother.
Supposedly, he woke up and Bree was nowhere to be found.
She has been supportive and cooperative with our investigators this entire time. We cannot imagine the grief and pain she must experience.
Then in March of 2021, a tragic discovery by fishing buddies at a pond in a wooded area leads to a break in the case.
We have received confirmation that the remains are those of Quaneesha Terrell.
The location, a 30-minute drive away from where Quaneesha had been sleeping, a location investigators believe Henry Dinkins drove to overnight with her body. He's charged with kidnapping and first-degree murder.
With premeditation, malice aforethought, and intent to kill BT, shot her with a firearm, causing her death.
Now, Dinkins' murder trial is going forward, not in front of a jury, but a judge only, after Dinkins, who pleaded not guilty, also waived his right to a jury of his peers.
This case has been going on for the last couple of weeks. Let's go now back into the courtroom. Maureen Hams is on the stand. She's a detective. She interviewed Breasia's brother. We're only identifying him with his initials DL. We're going to pick up with the direct examination of the detective.
Had bleach been mentioned at all at that point?
No.
Was there any really reason at that point to document that you'd found bleach?
No.
Now, later that same day, did you conduct another interview with DL at the police station?
Yes.
Do you recall approximately what time that interview would have started?
Can I refer to my notes?
Would that help refresh your memory on the time?
Yes.
Make sure you refer to your notes.
You may.
The interview started at 3:48.
In the afternoon?
Yes.
Now, who was all present during that interview?
It was DL's mother, Aisha, and Detective Obert, and myself, and DL.
Now, what was the goal of this interview at the police station?
The goal was to try to find Breasia and see if he had information to help assist us.
So are you really just trying to gather facts and information at that point?
Yes.
Now, what was his demeanor like during this interview?
He was still the same, kind of carefree, just an average, normal kid to interview.
Was he doing anything in particular during your interview?
He had seen some Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse stuffed animals outside. We sometimes give those to kids. It makes them calm down a little bit sometimes if they're anxious. And he had picked out one, and then he had also picked out one for Breasia because he wanted to give it to her when she came home.
Now, was this interview recorded?
Yes.
And have you had an opportunity to review that interview as well?
I have.
And may I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm handing you State's Exhibit 158-1. Is this a fair and accurate copy of the interview at the police station on July 10th of 2020 with DL?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, the state would offer 158-1 into evidence.
No objection.
Exhibit 158-1 will be admitted.
Now, Detective Hammis, you had already spoken a bit with DL back at Andrea's apartment. Is that right?
Yes.
When you started your interview here with DL, did you get right into the questioning kind of right away, or how did you proceed?
I just explained to him that I wanted to talk to him. I was trying to find his sister, and I thought that he had probably some information in his smart brain.
May I publish, Your Honor?
You may.
find some friends?
Yep.
Can I sit over here with you?
Yep.
I like Mickey Minnie. All right. So I know you've talked to a lot of people today, right? You remember talking to me earlier?
Yeah.
You remember what you told me?
No.
You don't remember what you told me? Okay.
No. I always forget stuff.
You always forget stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I think you can probably tell me some pretty important stuff. How do you spell your first name?
D-E-T-O-R-I-O-U-S.
Detorius?
N-O-S-L-E-Y.
And when's your birthday, hon?
October 28th.
2011. And you're gonna be in 3rd grade just like my daughter, right?
Yep.
Yeah, just like mine.
Turning 9.
Is Detorius is that how, am I saying it right?
Detorius?
Yeah. You know what?
Or Dink.
Or Dink?
D-I-N-K.
My daughter's name is Tori, so I like that. Detorius. All right. Okay, so I know that I talked to you earlier, and Detective Overt also talked to you, okay? And I know that a lot's gone on within the day, and we're just trying to get some details out of this little brain, because I know this little brain is a good brain, okay? And I know it's a smart brain, all right? So I know that your daddy picked you up last night, is that right?
Yeah.
Where did he pick you up from?
My nana house.
Your nana.
14 by 6 get their shoe from number 1.
Okay. And was he always just going to pick only you up? Was that what he was originally going to do? Just pick you up?
Yeah.
And then what happened when Dad got there?
He told me to brush my teeth, and then my sister came. He said she don't mind if he come.
Did she want to go with him? Okay. And was Grandma there?
Yep.
What
my
Grandma?
nana told her don't go, and she went.
Okay, so she wanted to go. So Grandma said don't go, and she went.
Yep.
And what'd your dad say when Grandma said don't go?
All he said was, come on, let's go.
He said, come on, let's go. And where did you sit in that car?
Front seat.
Front seat? Now, which car was he in?
That black one.
That really cool one with the lion on the front?
Yep.
Okay. What kind of car is that? Camaro?
Yeah.
Okay. And did your brother, is it Cardell? Was he there?
No.
Did he want to go?
Yeah.
So was he there?
No.
He wasn't there when your dad picked you up?
Was he at my nana house?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he was at my nana house.
Okay, so he was there when you got picked up, right?
Yeah.
And did he want to go too?
Yeah, but my nana said.
Okay. Did your daddy say no too?
No.
Your daddy didn't say no?
My nana didn't say no. He just listened to my nana.
Okay. Did your dad say something about there was no room in the car for you?
Quaneesha Terrell's brother, talking after she was reported missing is key evidence in this case because he was there the whole time. So we're going to break in here and then we'll get you back into the courtroom and listen to more of what he has to say right after this.
A victim with celebrity ties from Stormy Daniels to once being engaged to Drew Carey.
Now her alleged killer faces a jury.
The Hollywood Obsession murder trial. Coverage begins Tuesday at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
These are the cases that captivated the world.
Couldn't keep my life straight. They were killed by their own children.
Court TV Legendary Trials. Go to courttv.com/legendary trials to find out how to watch.
Let's go back to Iowa now and pick up where we left off, where the jury, or there's no jury in this case, the judge is watching a video of an interview with the missing little girl's brother. And this is right afterwards. He's got a Mickey and Minnie Mouse doll with him, and he's answering questions. Let's see what he says and how useful this will be for the case. Let's watch.
So, okay, so Dad didn't want CJ coming?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So CJ, that's Cardell?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. So Cardell wanted to go, But your daddy said he couldn't go because there's no room.
Yeah.
And your grandma also told him he couldn't go.
Yep.
And he listened to your grandma.
Yep.
Okay. But your sister did not listen to your grandma, right?
Yep.
All right. Do you know about what time that was? Was that before dinner, after dinner?
It was after dinner.
It was after dinner that
Well, no.
Was it still light outside when you went?
Yeah.
Okay, was Mommy home from work yet?
Yeah.
Remember when you went with your dad? When you went with your daddy?
No.
Okay, so Mom, what time did you get off work?
I get off work until 5:04.
Okay, so 5:04, so we know that you got picked up before then. Mom off. Were you aware that he was being picked up by Dad?
Oh, yes, I was aware that he was being picked up.
But no one else?
No one else.
When did you find out that he was picked up by
When
somebody?
my mom had called and said, Henry said to make sure that you get the kids something to put on. And I'm like, oh, okay, so who else went with him? And she was like, oh, Bree went.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, so I just picked both of them some clothes off because I'm like, I needed to break anyways and I needed to pick up more hours.
Okay. So where'd you go right after Daddy picked you up?
We went to go get him some cigarettes and then we went to his girlfriend's house.
Okay, and his girlfriend is who?
What's her name again?
Is it Andrea?
Yeah.
That's her name. Had you ever met her before?
Yeah.
Okay. When's the last time you saw your dad? Do you know? Before this day.
At the store, bookshop.
When was that? So just in passing, you've seen him? Like he didn't take you or anything? You just seen him? Does he say hi when he sees you?
No, he just gave me his eyes and tried to get his number.
Okay. Okay. So you don't see your dad on a regular basis?
No.
So were you super excited about going there today?
Yep.
Last night? I would be
Because
too.
he said he had the Xbox and a PS4.
Heck yeah, that's fun, isn't it?
Yep.
Right, I want to go too. All right. So, what'd you guys do last night?
Played again.
Where were you playing?
What game was I playing?
Yeah.
GTA.
Is that Grand Theft Auto?
Yep.
Okay. Number 5?
Yep.
And where were you playing that at?
In the living room.
Okay, who was in the living room with you?
Andrea.
Andrea, where was your daddy?
In the room with Bree.
What was he doing in the room with Bree?
So what did I say again, Mom?
Well, just think. Use your brain. What was he doing? Was he sleeping?
No.
Was the door open?
Yeah.
Door was open? Okay. Is there a game in there?
Oh, I just forgot he was playing the game with Bree.
He was what?
Playing the game.
What game?
It's a jumping game.
A jumping game? Okay. So he wasn't playing with you, he was playing with her?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you sad that he was playing with her and not you?
Yeah.
Okay, you were?
Yep. I was mad.
You were mad? Why were you mad?
Because he didn't play the game with me.
Okay. And so then, what'd you do after that?
We ate dinner.
What'd you have?
Pizza rolls.
Mm-hmm.
A sandwich.
Mm-hmm. What kind of sandwich?
Ham.
Ham sandwich? Was it like one someone made?
Me and my sister made it.
You and your sister made it? Okay. And did you all eat together, or how did that go down?
We had to eat in his living room because he don't have a table.
He doesn't have a table, does he?
No.
So was everyone having dinner together, or just you and your sister?
We had me and my sister.
Okay.
Me and my sister had to sit in the living room.
And then what were they doing?
In the living room, talking and smoking.
Okay, so they're talking and smoking while you're eating?
Yep.
Okay, and then what'd you do?
We was playing the game for a little bit more, and then we went to bed. And when I woke up, I saw her feet kick me. And then I woke up, and then she was gone.
Okay. When you say you saw her, were you in the same bed as your sister?
Yeah.
And was that the room with the air conditioner? Okay. And where was your daddy at?
In the living room.
And where was he at in the living room?
on the air mattress.
With who?
His girlfriend.
Okay. When you went to bed, your daddy was on the air mattress?
And when I woke up, both of them was gone.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Was the door to your bedroom open or closed when you went to bed?
Open.
Open? Okay. And so do you know about what time you went to bed?
No.
You don't know? Okay. Your sister was on the bed though, right? Do you remember what she was wearing?
A long white tee and some black shorts.
And some black shorts. Did you guys go to bed at the same time?
No.
Who went to bed first?
Me. My sister.
Your sister went to bed first?
Yep.
And what'd you do?
Playing the game for a little bit longer. Then I went to sleep.
Okay. When you went to sleep, was your daddy asleep?
Yeah, I heard him snore.
You could hear him snoring?
Yep.
Does Andrea snore?
No.
You don't?
All I hear.
Okay, so you could hear your daddy snore?
Yep.
Okay.
He's loud.
He's loud? Okay. And then when you went to sleep, did you ever wake up at all in the middle of the night? Do you ever wake up to go potty or anything?
Yeah.
Did you do that last night? Okay.
I turned on the light and then I saw Bree was gone.
Okay. Did you go looking for her?
Me and my dad, when he got back, he told me he was lost.
Okay.
She was lost.
Okay. So when you woke up, was it light or dark outside?
Morning.
It was morning, so it was light up outside?
Yep.
Okay. So when you woke up, your daddy was gone. Was Andrea there?
All right, we need a commercial break. Compelling listening to this little one recount what he remembers. We'll get a break in here and lots ahead. Stay with us.
.com.
Top of the hour, welcome back to Court TV Live. Glad to have you along with us on this Monday. The trial for a couple accused in the murder of a disabled teenager is expected to get underway today in Colleton County, South Carolina, and this is a hard one. Rita Pangalangan and her boyfriend, Larry King, are accused of putting 13-year-old Christina, Rita's daughter, who has special needs, inside a car and leaving her to die in August of 2019. The teen, who was nonverbal and in a wheelchair, was trapped in that car for 5 hours. And the state claims that this was intentional, that they put her in the car, went back into the house, and then would check on her a few times over the next 5 hours. Opening statements expected this afternoon as soon as a jury is picked and ready to go. And after the lunch break, we'll get you to that South Carolina courtroom and watch the opening statements together. We're also in Iowa for the trial against Henry Dinkins. He's accused of kidnapping and murdering 10-year-old Breasia Terrell. She was last seen at a sleepover at Dinkins' apartment. This is a bench trial, so no jury. Before the break, we were watching video of Breasia's brother, who was there, sleeping in the same bed as Breasia, and he is recounting what he remembers during that sleepover. Let's pick it up right where we left off.
Anybody was?
I asked her where she said she don't know, but they both left.
She said they both left? Well, what did she mean by that? Or how did you interpret that? Or like, what do you think she was talking about?
He got in the car. She got in the car with him.
That's how you took it? She said they both left? You took it as they both got in a car together and left, okay? Did she say that to you, or is that just what you thought? That's what you thought, because they were both gone? Okay, I understand that. Did you ever see your sister leaving the bedroom? You did? When was that?
At nighttime.
At nighttime? Were you in bed when you saw that? What did you see?
I saw her walk downstairs with my dad.
With your dad?
And then he shut the door.
Okay. Were you out of the bed Or did you get up and watch them do that, or how did that go down? Because from where that bed is, you can't see that. Or did you just see them leave and you heard it, or how did that happen?
I saw them leave.
You saw them leave? What did you see?
I saw them walk down the stairs.
Okay.
And then I heard the door open, because it'll make lots of noise.
Okay, so you heard. So I'm just looking at it from this way. I'm gonna draw. I'm not a very good drawer, okay? At all. Like, all right, so the stairs are over here. And then, no, I'm not very good. These are the stairs. I'm gonna do this. All right, and then I'm not very good at this. The stairs go all the way down here, okay? But up here, this is the windows, okay? And I don't. And there was an air mattress here, right?
Down in the living room.
Yep, that's in the living room. And then we have couches, a couch here, right?
Yep.
And then we also have a couch
here.
Here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not very good at this. And then this is the kitchen area. I'm just going to draw like a kitchen table, even though there's no table in there. Right? And then back here is the bedroom, right?
Yep.
Okay. And here's the door to the bedroom. Okay? So you can't really see the stairs, right? You can't, right? Where did you see your dad and sister in here?
Walking down the stairs.
From the bed, you can't see the stairs though, right? So you just knew they went down the stairs?
I peeked.
Oh, you gotta tell me that. What'd you peek? What'd you see?
I saw my sister.
Mm-hmm.
They were walking down the stairs talking.
Okay.
And then they slammed the door.
Then they slammed the door?
Yep.
Did you hear your sister say anything?
No.
Was your daddy saying anything?
Yeah.
What was he saying?
He was just talking about cars.
He was just talking about cars?
How you gonna get more?
Okay. Was it dark out when you saw this, or light out, or something?
Light.
It was light out? Okay. Where was Andrea?
Looking in the front window and looking in the back window.
Okay.
Because she was trying to find both of them.
Okay. But when you saw them and that you peeked, was it still dark outside or light outside?
Light.
It was light outside? Okay. Are you sure about that?
Well.
Did you go back to bed?
No.
What did you do?
I went in the living room. She told me to go in the living room.
Andrea told you to go into the living room. All right. So you're saying you woke up.
Yeah.
You said a couple things, and that's why I'm a little confused. You originally said you woke up and they were gone. And you told me that Andrea told you to go out to the living room at some point. All right? And then you also told me that you woke up because you heard them and that you peeked and saw them go down and Andrea was sleeping, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I need to know from your smart brain which way you remember it, because it's a huge detail. Okay? It's a huge, and if it's light outside or if it's dark outside is a pretty big detail too. Because I know when Andrea told you to go to the air mattress, I know it was light outside. Is that correct? Okay. Because she said that too. Was she up? Or was she sleeping on that air mattress when
She was up looking through back and front window for my mom. I meant my dad and Brie.
Okay. And you said it was dark out or light out?
I said it was light.
Okay. When you say it was light, was it like when you're eating breakfast, or like when it's
I couldn't eat breakfast. He didn't let me.
Okay. What I'm trying to say though is when you get up and you say it's light outside, is the sun just coming up or is the sun out?
Out.
Out. So when you peeked and you saw them leave,
The sun was out.
the sun was out. Okay, I get that. So you think it was early in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder what time the sun rose today.
Me too.
I wonder if we can find that out. Hey Siri, what time did the sun rise today? Let's see if it says anything. I don't know. I don't know how to use this watch.
Sun.
The sun?
Sorry, one more time. Sunrise was at 5:38 today.
5:38 today. So that is early.
Yeah, it is.
Sun rose.
It was pretty bright when I left out at like 7.
You told me he called you at 7:47.
He called me roughly around 7:47, but I was in mid getting dressed because I was like...
Something's wrong with his phone. That's why he can't hear the call.
Okay. So the sun is up at 5:38 this morning, and that's where you peeked and you saw them, correct? So you don't know if your sister was there all night or not. Is that correct? Because you were sleeping up until you peeked and saw your dad going down the stairs with them and slamming the door and talking about cars. Okay.
Which that excites the kids, because that's the reason why he likes to go over there in Midbury.
Okay. So up until
He
that...
liked to go over there because of snacks. Like, all he got.
He did have some good snacks. He had some peanut butter crunches in there. I was like wanting to get some because those are good.
Did you look up there?
I sure did. I looked
There's
everywhere.
nice snacks.
Yeah, they do have a lot of
He
good
gave her
snacks.
Oreos. She said,
Oh, they were the vanilla Oreos, weren't they? I saw those on the ground.
She gonna ask Mom. She said, "Oh, I'm gonna ask Mom trust him that again because he has snacks."
Yes. You know, we got a guy here we call Snacks because all he does is eat snacks all day long. We call him Snacks. Isn't that funny?
Is it him?
Me. No. Sometimes I can be called Snacks because I'm always eating too. Okay, so we know at 5:38 you saw at least 5:38 because it was light. Okay, so once your daddy leaves with your sister, then what happens?
What happens?
What happened after you peeked and saw them walking down the stairs and the door slamming?
Andrea told me to go in the living room.
Where was Andrea at?
Looking back to front window.
So she was looking from each window?
Yep.
Okay, that's what she was doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can either ask her.
You can ask
She's
her?
gonna say yes.
Okay. And then what happened? Did you go to the living room? Did you go back to bed?
I went to the living room, and then I didn't go to bed.
Okay, what'd you do?
I pretend I was asleep. I was trying to turn on the TV. She told me to turn it off.
Okay, and what was Andrea doing while that was going on? While you were pretending to sleep?
She was on her phone after she was working.
She was on her phone. Did your daddy have his phone?
No.
He
It was
didn't?
dead.
The phone was dead? So your daddy didn't have no phone at all? And he left with your sister? Okay. And then what happened?
And that's all.
Did your daddy come back?
Oh, yeah.
And what happened when he came back? How was he acting?
He was acting silly.
What was he doing?
He was just yelling.
What was he yelling about?
About his juice missing.
About his juice missing?
Think he drank his juice?
No. It was his orange juice.
Okay. Then, what else was he talking about?
Nothing else. Just his orange juice because he got mad. He was yelling at his girlfriend.
What was
and
he?
me. He said, "Who stole my orange juice?"
Okay. Was she asking any questions to him? Did she ask him where he gone?
No.
Was he asking where Bree was at?
No.
Nothing.
He wasn't thinking about that.
No, I'm asking about Andrea. Was she asking any questions? She wasn't. Did you ask any questions?
No.
No? Okay. So then what happened? Why didn't he feed you? Where'd you go?
I had to go with my mom.
Why is that?
Because he said she was cussing him out. That's why he said I gotta go back with my mom.
Okay. What was mom cussing him out about?
don't even know what happened on the phone. When he got off the phone, all he said was your mom was cussing at me.
Okay. Did he say anything about where your sister was? Did you ask him where my sister was? I know that, who packed up the clothes?
To take him over to my dad's house?
Mm-hmm. No, those clothes that your sister had, that you had, that your mom brought.
Oh, my dad.
Your dad, he packed them up?
Mm-hmm.
They gave them to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
I can take them home.
So you could take them home. Okay. Was anyone asking where Bree was?
No.
Did your daddy drive you anywhere?
He went a couple places.
Let's talk about where your daddy went. Where'd he go?
He went to go fishing with a couple people.
He went fishing?
Yeah.
Okay.
He went fishing.
Uh-huh.
He went fishing with more people. And,
he went fishing last night?
Yeah.
With?
Oh, no, not the last night.
This morning?
Yeah.
He went fishing? Were you there?
Yeah, I was in the car.
You were in the car? Which car were you in?
That purple one.
Purple one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So was this after you peeked and saw?
Yeah.
He went fishing. Who did he go fishing with?
He said some 6 people. 6 people he saw. Then he gave them $100. He gave.
Okay, let's get a break in here and get you back into the courtroom for more right after this. Stay with us.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, an alleged murder-for-hire plot in Paradise. We'll bring you the latest developments in the case against Lindsay Shiver. Plus, a fiery statement by the DA overseeing the case against Karen Reed, a Massachusetts woman accused of killing her police officer boyfriend.
What is happening to these innocent people, these witnesses, is wrong and it needs to stop.
We'll bring in our think tank with reaction.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
The bench trial for defendant Henry Dinkins continues in the state of Iowa. Dinkins is accused of first-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping in the death of 10-year-old Breasia Terrell. Let's go back into the courtroom now for more of that interview with Breasia's brother. We're going to pick it up right where we left off.
He could go fishing with them.
So he could go fishing with them? Where were you?
In the car. I had to sit in the car by myself.
You sat in the car? Did you see your dad get anything out of the car?
He complained he grabbed some bleach, and what I saw in his trunk, he pulled it out. It was a knife.
He had some bleach?
Mm-hmm.
And a knife?
Yeah. Bleach and knife.
What kind of knife?
It's some big knives.
So you saw him grab a bleach and knife out?
Yeah.
Where were you at when he went fishing?
I was in the car.
I know, but where was he?
When we went to his house, when we went back to his house, he forgot something. He went in the house to grab his big old knife, and then he put it in his trunk.
Okay. So let me talk.
What color? It's purple.
It's purple? Okay. Where did he grab that knife from?
His trunk.
His trunk?
And then he washed it off.
He washed off what?
The knife.
Washed it off with what though?
Some bleach and some, a rag. He washed it off with a rag.
With a rag? Where was the rag at?
The car.
In his car? Okay. Do you know where he went fishing this morning? Do you think you could take me that way?
I don't remember that way.
What if I drove you down that way?
It's a long way.
That's okay.
I don't remember. I don't remember where he was at.
Okay. So
just a place that he got stuck.
He got stuck? His car
He needed another push.
Who helped push him?
The 6 people that he went fishing with.
So this morning, after your sister left, he came back and got you, and then he went fishing. Did you see his fishing poles?
He didn't have any.
He didn't have no fishing poles?
He bite it for he can fish with them.
He what?
He borrowed it for he can fish with them.
So he had the fishing pole?
He borrowed them from,
Yeah.
borrowed fishing poles from other people?
Did you actually see your dad with fishing poles? Or did he tell you he went fishing?
He told me he went fishing.
But he left you in the car?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you saw him with bleach and a knife?
Yeah.
Okay.
Big knife.
A big knife. And he cleaned it?
Yep.
Okay. What, did you ask him about that?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about he went fishing. Did you see him go with people, or did he just get out by himself?
He got out by himself. When he went down there, there was already 6 people down there.
That's what he told you. Did you see those 6 people? You never saw anybody?
He just told me there were 6 people down there.
He told you there were 6 people down there. How long do you think you were in that car?
Long.
How long?
I couldn't see the time.
Okay. Did it felt like forever though? After your daddy went fishing, where did you go?
He took me to my nana house. To go to her.
To meet your mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
By McDonald's in the parking lot.
Okay. Have you ever been to that area where your daddy went fishing?
No.
You've never been there before? Do you know where your daddy has a trailer?
It's at the shop.
I don't know. I'm just asking if you know any other place where your daddy lives. Do you think you would remember?
He don't have a house. He only has a house with his girlfriend.
Okay. Do you think that if I took you to an area, you might be able to say, yeah, I was down this way? Do you think you could do that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. When he got something out of the truck, what, did you see everything he was getting?
All I saw was some bleach and a big knife in a rag.
What color was the rag?
Purple.
Purple? And the knife was purple? Was it in a case or no?
It was not in a case.
It was not in a case?
It was in nothing. He just poured it out.
How big was this when you tell me?
It was very big.
Show me with your hands.
We've got a knife, bleach, fishing. He stays in the car. A lot of the facts we know about the case seem to be coming out through this little boy. Michael Jeffers watching along with us. This is a bench trial. So a jury would have trouble parsing what the child is saying out. How about a judge, though? How much credibility will a judge, do you think, give this youngster's recollection of events? Because, frankly, a lot of it does sort of fit into the state's theory, but on the other hand, every now and then he throws out a zinger that just doesn't seem to make any sense.
Well, I mean, anytime your case relies on the testimony of a minor, you kind of hold your breath and because you don't know what to expect. But to answer your question, it was a very intimate decision to waive the jury and ask for a bench trial. I've said on this show before that, one of my first felony trials was a rape trial where I had a co-counsel who was a former retired judge. And he advised me, I was a young kid at that point, he advised me, he said, we're going to waive the jury on this one. Trust me. I debated it. I said, that's a terrible mistake. I was young. I'd been an attorney, I think, for a couple of years. And it worked out. We got an acquittal because that former judge saw the evidence. He saw the facts. He knew exactly how it would play out. And he told me, if it plays out this way, this judge is going to be better than a jury. And he was right. So to answer your question, the way this judge is going to look at it, I have to assume that the defense attorneys knew that this was going to come in, and they made the calculation that a judge would be better for their client than the jury. So we still don't see the balance of it. The attorneys already have, but it's very, 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 very bad for the defense. The defense must have known that this was going to come. They must have made the calculation that a judge will probably parse through it a little bit better than a jury.
Mm-hmm. We know the lake where she was found, Breasia, was about 30 minutes away from the apartment. And the kid says it was a long drive. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to take you there because it was too long of a drive for him to remember. So that part of it fits. I was told to stay in the car while he goes fishing, but he never saw him with a fishing rod and never saw those other 6 people that he was supposedly fishing with. I mean, the kid's telling a lot of it seems to really match up with the state's case.
It does. It does. It's, again, the defense attorneys must have known that this was going to come. They must have predicted it. They must have seen it and grasped for it and told their client, we're going to have to waive this jury. Because, look, here's the thing, right? When you lose a case and you're a defendant, you spend the rest of your life stewing on your case, and people tell you, hey, the only way you're going to get out of here is if you claim ineffective assistance of counsel. Well, the first thing you're going to say is, my lawyers advised me improperly by telling me to waive this jury. It doesn't matter that I waived it. I signed a disclaimer. I did it based on their advice, right? And that's why I'm sitting here, right? So these attorneys would have sat down to their client's face and behind their client's back and thought, are we going to do this? We know the right way to do it, but we know that this is a big risk for us, but we know the evidence that's going to come in. And as you said, Ted, right, this kid's examination is falling right in line with the evidence around the case, right? And the guy looks like a villain, right? So this is not going well for the defense. But these attorneys, I'm looking at them in the courtroom, not right now, but before, and they are very, very, very nervous, and they are very focused because their butts are on the line. They're going to have to explain to future clients, why did they waive a jury in this case? They have an answer. We just don't know what it is.
Yeah, good point. Let's get a break, get you back to the courtroom for more right after this. Stay with us.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, an alleged murder-for-hire plot in Paradise. We'll bring you the latest developments in the case against Lindsay Shiver. Plus, a fiery statement by the DA overseeing the case against Karen Reed, a Massachusetts woman accused of killing her police officer boyfriend.
What is happening to these innocent people, these witnesses, is wrong, and it needs to stop.
We'll bring in our think tank with reaction.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan, tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. We've been watching the sleepover kidnapping murder trial in Iowa. Just moments ago, the police detective who interviewed Quaneesha Terrell's younger brother told the judge the boy appeared carefree during the interview and wanted to give Quaneesha a stuffed animal when she came home. She never came home. Of course, Henry Dinkins is accused of killing her. Back in 2020, after she came to his apartment for a sleepover, her body was found months later in a pond. Let's hear more testimony now from Detective Maureen Hams and her interview with Quaneesha's brother.
Okay, and bleach. What was the bleach in?
It's in his trunk.
It's in
The purple trunk. In that car that he drove.
The burgundy one, the Impala, remember?
the Impala?
He have it in the back of his trunk. It's a big knife.
Okay, and was the bleach in a container or what?
It was in a container.
How'd you know it was bleach? You know about bleach?
I know how it smells.
Could you smell it?
Yeah.
Did he open it up there with you? No? How could you smell it? Or did you not smell it?
I can't smell it because he was down later and I smelled it.
He was down
by the fishing.
By the fishing? Was it by the river or by a creek?
Water.
Okay.
You know what telling the truth is, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Don't lie.
And what does lie mean?
You'll get in trouble.
Yeah, so are you telling us the truth? We're really trying to find your sister.
Yeah, I'm not lying.
Okay. I believe you. I believe you. So, after the sun rose this morning, your daddy took you fishing. He told you he was going fishing. And then after you saw him go down there, he said there were 6 people that helped him. He said something about $100. What happened with the $100?
He paid for it.
Who?
My dad.
Paid for what?
The fishing pole.
Did you ever see the fishing pole?
Yeah.
Where was that at?
It's down by a car place.
Down by a car place. Did Dad put the fishing pole in the car at all?
Yeah, it was in his trunk.
It's in his trunk too? Okay. All right, just hang tight, okay? After you went there, your dad took you to Grandma's house. Is that right? Where'd he go?
My mom took me to the house. I could put the stuff on.
You met Mom at McDonald's, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did your daddy call your mom while you were in the car?
Yeah.
What did your daddy say to your mom?
All he told my mom was meet her at McDonald's.
Okay. Do you know what time that was, Aisha?
8:08.
It was at 8:08?
Yeah. What's the time of the phone call, yeah?
So 8:08.
So probably like 8:13 to 8:15 because that's a little distance from like Checkers and McDonald's.
Which McDonald's are we talking?
East Kimberly?
Yeah, East Kimberly.
All right. Is there anything else you remember?
Just that.
Just that? But you think that you'd be able to say, yeah, it was down around this area where he was fishing. Was there roads down there? There was roads? Okay. All right, just hang tight, okay? Do you like those mini-minis? I like them too. All right.
My friend told me that my brother said that he had left my charger downstairs because like my phone had died and stuff. And I know
What kind of phone is that?
It's an iPhone.
Here, I have a plug. I'll plug it in.
Okay.
All right. I do have to lock this door, but okay. Come here. All right. So I want to show you a couple pictures, okay? Because they're of different types of knives, okay? Do any of these look like what you saw?
It looked like this one, but this side, but this down here is purple.
It looked like this, but this was purple? Okay. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to take you, Mom, and you, and we're gonna drive down to some areas, okay? And it's gonna be us four. I'm gonna put you in the front seat, okay? And we're gonna go looking to see where your daddy went fishing this morning, okay? Okay. Let me go put these back and we'll get out of here, okay?
So, Detective Hammis, as Detorius was describing the events of July 9th into July 10th of 2020, he describes being picked up by the defendant and the situation in which Breasia ended up coming with him. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, once they got to Andrea's apartment, he describes playing Grand Theft Auto, right?
Yes.
And where did he say Breasia was when he was playing Grand Theft Auto?
In the bedroom.
And who was with her at that time?
His father.
And where did he describe that DL was playing Grand Theft Auto?
In the living room.
And did he describe what Breasia was wearing when she went to bed?
He said that she was wearing a white t-shirt and black pair of shorts.
And did he describe anything about the size of the shirt?
It was a 4T. It was a big shirt.
A big shirt?
Yeah.
Now, at some point, he talks about being woken up in the night. Do you recall him saying he saw Breasia kick him?
Yes.
Now, you two engage in a discussion about whether he saw Breasia leave the bedroom. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And he described to you seeing Breasia and the defendant walking down the stairs. Is that fair?
Yes.
And you kind of went back and forth about whether it was light out or dark out at that time. Fair?
Yes.
Now he settles with it was light out at that time. Do you know if that parking lot by Andrea's apartment had street lamps?
It did.
And were those street lamps right by their windows?
Yes.
Because initially, he told you that when he saw Breasia leave the bedroom, it was nighttime.
Yes.
And he describes Andrea going back and forth looking out the windows, right?
Yes.
And what was she looking for?
For his dad and Bree.
Now, when you get into the next morning, at some point, he talks about his dad going a couple different places, right?
Yes.
He describes he went to go fishing with a couple people, and then he went fishing with more people.
Yes.
Now, he describes going to a place where...
All right, we need a commercial break. We'll get you back into the courtroom for more testimony right after this. Stay with us.
These are the cases that captivated the world.
Couldn't keep my life straight.
That demanded our attention.
They were killed by their own children.
That challenged the legal system and ourselves.
How in the world can a mother wait 30 days before reporting her child missing?
These are the trials that became legendary. And now you can relive them all in one place. Court TV Legendary Trials. Go to courttv.com/legendary trials to find out how to watch.
Welcome back. We've been watching this police interview with the son of Henry Dinkins, the sister of the little girl that was murdered according to the state by Dinkin, Breasia Terrell. Now, Dinkins' son told investigators that the day his sister Breasia vanished, his dad went, quote, fishing. And the boy says that while inside his dad's car, he saw Dinkins with a big knife, a rag, and some bleach. Henry Dinkins is accused of killing Breasia in 2020, then dumping her body in a pond. Detective Maureen Hams is still on the stand. Let's go back into the courtroom.
6 people fishing, right?
Yes.
Now, to clarify, does DL tell you whether he actually saw anybody fishing?
No, he said his dad told him.
And he kept describing his dad went fishing down there. Is that fair? He kept using the phrase down there?
Yes.
That the 6 people were down there by the water?
Yes.
And he describes the place that they went fishing as a long way away. Is that fair?
Yes.
And it's the place where he got stuck and he needed a push. Also fair?
Yes.
Now, again, when he's talking about the defendant getting stuck, was that something he described DL actually seeing? that happen?
No, his dad told him that happened.
And at one point, he mentioned his dad offering to pay these 6 people $100, right?
Yes.
Now, you talk a lot about the knife that was described and some bleach. Fair to say?
Yes.
What does DL tell you about the knife and the bleach?
He says that it came from his dad's trunk and that he could smell it and that the knife was big. And he said it had a purple handle on it.
What did he see his dad do with the knife?
Clean the knife with bleach down by the water.
And again, he used that phrase, down by the water.
Yes.
Did he describe the color of the rag that was used?
It was purple.
Now, at that point in time when you're interviewing DL, was there any knowledge by law enforcement that the defendant had purchased bleach that morning?
No.
Do you recall when law enforcement would have found out about that?
I don't have that specific date.
But certainly not at the time that you were interviewing DL.
No.
Now, towards the end of the interview there, you showed DL 2 photographs. One that appeared to be an axe and one that appeared to be more like a machete. Is that fair?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because he kept describing a big knife, and those are 2 knives that are big. And so I had them printed off to see if this was what he was talking about.
At that point, did you have any information about either an axe or a machete being located in any of the vehicles or in the RV or anything like that?
No.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm showing you State's Exhibit 79, which is in this, has those inside it. Do you recognize those?
Yes.
And what is State's Exhibit 79?
They're the 2 pictures that I showed DL.
And was he able to make an identification from these 2 photos?
Yes.
And is that what we just observed in your interview as well?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, the state would offer State's Exhibit 79 into evidence.
No objection. No objection.
Exhibit 79 will be admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
So this was one of the knives that you showed DL, correct?
Yes.
And showing you him, this one here that appears to be more of an axe, was that the other one you also showed him?
Yes.
And of these 2, which was it again that he, I don't know how to do that the best way, but identified?
The machete style knife.
Again, towards the end of that interview, you told DL that you were going to drive him and his mother around to different locations. Did you end up doing that?
Yes.
Where was the focus of the area where you were driving that day?
Down by the river.
And why did you choose to focus on that area?
Because it was the water here in Davenport.
And so earlier during that interview, when DL was describing being taken by water, was there a thought that he may be describing Credit Island?
Yes.
At that point, was there any information that the defendant or DL had traveled anywhere outside of Davenport?
No.
And so then, who all participated in that, I'm going to call it a ride-along?
Detective Obert drove. DL was in the front seat, and myself and DL's mother, Aisha, were in the back seat.
And would you have left that interview room and pretty much went straight out to a vehicle and started driving around?
Yes.
Now, while you were driving around, at some point, did you approach or drive by Schmidt Road in Davenport?
Yes.
What was DL's reaction when you passed that road?
He looked down that road, and then he said he remembered that road.
He indicated he had driven on that road that morning?
Yes.
When you drove on that road, or did you turn around and start going down that road at that point?
Yes.
At some point, did he again start to describe the area they went fishing?
Yes.
And do you recall what he described?
A hill.
Do you recall what he said about the hill?
I would have to refer to my notes to make sure.
Was that documented in a police report?
Should be.
And would reviewing that police report refresh your memory?
Yes.
All right, let's get a commercial break in here as we approach the top of the hour. Thanks to Michael Jafer. Judge Ashley Wilcott's going to pick up our coverage when we return.